This is Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies.
Hello, Reporter Room investigators. Come on in, come on in. Welcome to Reporter Room. My name is Jessica Della Davies, and today we're going to be talking about the Bryan Kohberger case. Oh my gosh, you guys. So come on in, tell me where you are from. We have a lot of stuff to unpack. Let me go ahead and open this up for you. I just finished covering the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case with David. If you have not seen that, you will want to watch that next. Just so much new information on that. Really, really sad case, but definitely we need to get justice for Celeste Rivas Hernandez. So come on in, tell me where you are from. And I did do a video file, so let me grab that as well. We have a lot of stuff to unpack. And we're going to be doing Lake and Snelling too. So I just do want to have that ready for you to also. I have also just wanted to show you this. This is my email. I have an email, you guys. So if you have any tips, it's tipsforjessica@outlook.com. You can email me now with other cases you want me to cover, or any tips in this case or any other case that we're following. And today we just did the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case and David D4VD case. We're doing Bryan Kohberger now, and then we're going to do Lake and Snelling. If you don't know who she is, she's the beauty queen who put her baby, her newborn, in a trash bag in her closet. Really, really heartbreaking case, but I think it's important that we cover that case as well. So in a newly released trove of security camera footage from the day that Ethan, Kaylee, Maddie, and Xana were done away with, it reveals that a white Hyundai Elantra was traveling around the King Road neighborhood in Moscow before and after in the wee hours of the morning. So let me pull this up. Let me take this down and present this. And this is the map of what we're going to be talking about for a second, and then we're going to dive into Bryan Kohberger a little bit more. But the video clips were obtained by the Idaho Statesman through public records requests, and it shows the white Hyundai Elantra, which police investigators later did connect back to BK, repeatedly circling the 1122 King Road home on November 13th. So this does confirm of why Bryan Kohberger pled guilty. Ann Taylor said that we knew from her motion to suppress, she didn't want the jury to see 12 hours of raw video footage of Bryan Kohberger's car circling the house. But the expanded footage that prosecutors previously detailed in court filings determined that the route that they say that BK took, it does show that it is his car. So according to Yahoo News, the residential cameras on the Indian Hills Drive in Moscow first recorded the white sedan, followed by security cameras at the Sunset Mart gas station on the 1300 block of Main Street. So this is around a half a mile from the King Road house. Then the cameras at Ridge Road apartment and apartment complexes on Linda Lane caught the car, and the law enforcement we know labeled it as suspect vehicle 1. Ann Taylor didn't want that to be allowed in, but the judge overruled her on that as well. She also tried to keep the video footage out, and I think once he could not get the capital punishment off the table, and he found out that his parents were going to be compelled to testify, he decided to make a plea deal. So police acquired footage from more than 17 locations. We had heard from the motion from Ann Taylor that there was 12 hours of raw video footage. Now we know they are from 17 different locations around Moscow and Pullman. So they were able to piece together the whereabouts of that Hyundai Elantra on November 13th and tie it right back to BK. The sources of these videos include area homes and businesses along this path that I'm showing you on the screen right now. You can see the path of this. Let me just show you this. Let me move myself out of the way. So they had pulled 17 different camera footage on this from this, and this is the timeline. So this is the timeline at 10:20 to 2 a.m. Kaylee and Maddie, we know they were at the corner club. We've seen the video footage of them walking from the corner club with John Jack Showalter down to the grub truck. They were picked up on the New St. Andrews College North, Farmers Insurance Office, Cafe Arista, Moscow Bagel and Deli, the Grub truck. We've all seen that video footage. And then they did eventually make it back to the 1122 King Road home. Between 9 p.m. and 2 a.m., Ethan and Chapin and Xana Kernodle were at the Sigma Chi fraternity house, and they believe that they probably walked home. Surveillance cameras for suspect vehicle 1 include the Southeast Nevada Street at North. Let me see if there's a way to make this bigger. Northeast Stadium Drive, southeast on Nevada Street, Floyd's Cannabis Shop, the 1700 block of Indian Hills Drive, the Sunset Mart in Moscow. So making his way around here. The 1100 block of Ridge Road, the Linda Lane Apartments, and that's really the only footage we had seen, right? Was the Linda Lane footage. The 400 block of Paradise Drive, the 1122 King Road, ES Services, Sunset Mart, Pullman. So this was him going back. Let me make this. So he did this roundabout trip, meandering around to, make it look like he was out gazing at the stars. But the problem with his plan is that it was an ice fog night. State Road 270 at Northeast Stadium Way, Southeast Nevada Street at Northeast Stadium Way, Northeast Stadium Way at Grimes Way, Northeast Stadium Way at Wilson Road, Northeast Stadium Way at Cougar Way. So they had him on camera. Between 244 and 407, this is BK's alleged route. He went, you can see here, the Pullman, let me see if I can make this. Pullman, Washington, Indian Hills, Lauder Avenue, 1122 King Roadhouse. We know he circled the neighborhood 5 times and then ultimately circled the house 3 times. The Sunnyside Avenue, Queen Road in Moscow. That's the one that's adjacent to King Road, and 451 Paradise in Moscow. And then his alleged route out is this meandering route back, where he took King Road to Walenta, to Blaine, to Genese, to Uniontown, to North Stadium Way, into the Concordian Lutheran Pullman, Washington. And then he ultimately went back to his car. So I think that's important. Let me pull this up instead. Okay, so that was his route, and that's the timeline. And my sourcing on this is the Idaho Statesman. The FBI, which helped in the investigation, initially identified the vehicle, the Hyundai Elantra, as a 2011 and 2013. So for those of you that have been with me the whole time, you would know this, right? Because I was covering this case back when we had the Bolo, be on the lookout for. But they later revised it to be on the lookout for 2014 to 2016. And we know now that Bryan Kohberger owned a 2015 Hyundai Elantra, a white Hyundai Elantra that his father, Michael Kohberger, flew across the country from Albrightsville, Pennsylvania to Holman, Washington, to drive Bryan Kohberger and his car back to Pennsylvania. The car in the videos, we now are learning with the, clarity that it did not have a front license plate. The police reported in a probable cause affidavit. So it's really narrowed down the number of people, in my opinion, that law enforcement would have had to have considered, right? They knew it was a white male. They knew it was somebody 5'10" or taller. They knew he was thin. athletic but not muscular. They knew he had bushy eyebrows, and they knew he drove a white sedan without a front license plate. So that would have helped them narrow it down. And I'm really curious. Come on in and tell me where you're from. Tell me if you think that whether you think law enforcement, let's do a poll, put a 1 in the chat if you think that BK would have been caught because of the very, even though there were a lot of white Hyundai Elantras, a lot of white sedans in the area, but do you think he would have been caught because he was missing that front license plate, regardless of whether or not that DNA that was found on the knife sheath underneath and to the side of Maddie? So if you think that BK would have been caught no matter what, even if they had not found his DNA on the knife sheath, put a 1 in the chat. If you think that he would have committed the perfect crime and would have not have been caught if he hadn't left his DNA on that knife sheath and they had just had the white Hyundai Elantra on camera, put a 2 in the chat. I'm really curious what you guys think about that. So let's continue on. So at the time, BK's Elantra was registered in Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania does not require a front license plate. But just 5 days after he committed the crimes, on November 13th of 2022, BK registered his car in Washington and got himself front and back plates. And I believe that he knew he was going to do this. He didn't want to do it the day after the crimes because that was a Sunday. He couldn't have. But he knew he was going to do this, which is why he felt comfortable driving his car to the crime scene. So security footage from a King Road neighbor's house was also released for the first time to the public last month, and it played an important part in helping law enforcement identify the vehicle and establish a timeline, an accurate timeline of when the perpetrator entered the 1122 King Road house, when he exited. So based on the footage and other evidence, prosecutors believe that Ethan, Kaylee, Maddie, and Xana were done away with in a 13-minute window between we had originally been told between 4 a.m. and 4:20. Now we were told 4:04 and 4:20. Now they've tightened it up even more. 4:07 to 4:20 a.m. And law enforcement, you will recall from one of the live streams I've done in the past, did run tests. They tested out whether somebody could have gotten into the house and committed all of these crimes, done away with Maddie and Kaylee, and done away with Ethan and Xana in 13 minutes. And he had plenty of time. So 4:20, then we know that the white Hyundai Elantra was seen speeding away and exiting the neighborhood. So after leaving the King Road neighborhood, the white Hyundai Elantra is next spotted at 5:26 a.m. in security footage from the 1300 block of Johnson Avenue in Pullman. And it's captured moments later traveling north at the Sunset Mart gas station on Bishop in Pullman. And police said that BK returned to his apartment at WSU just around a little after 5:30 a.m. And we know that he began calling mommy shortly thereafter. He called her 3 times and they spoke 3 times. One of the calls was almost an hour. The other 2 were shorter. I would love to know what those phone conversations were. By the way, everything I'm sharing with you is my opinion. This video is for adults only. Please consider subscribing, smash the like button, leave me a comment in the comment section below. And if you're just joining me, come on in and tell me where you're from. You can tell me what country, what state, whatever you feel comfortable sharing. So let's talk about what BK did between 9:12 and 9:21. And then we're going to talk about the real reason that he was down there at Costco. Why he was down there at Costco. I'm going to put up the victims. Let me move myself out of the way. Okay. Let's see where you guys are with the poll. Really curious. Thank you for modding today, NJazz and DM. Nicole put a 1. DM said he would have been caught eventually, in my opinion. NJazz put a 1. Thank you for modding today. Shelly said he looks disheveled and back pocket turned out at Costco. Yeah, I'm going to show you that in a second. Not as white shirt as after the shower. And I think it's interesting. you know, he looks disheveled, but he also looks calm. We're going to look at those together in just a second. Purple Daisy said he might have been caught without the DNA, but harder to prosecute. I agree. I agree with you. That would be my take on it as well. I think that it would have been harder to prosecute him without. Let me move myself up here. I'm like right blocking myself. Let's see if I make this one. See if I can just move myself up so I'm not blocking my own face every time I show your comment. Okay. That's better. So yeah, I think that maybe we wouldn't have gotten a plea deal. Maybe we would have had to have gone to trial. Shelley put a 1. G of Twins put a 1. Grandma Dell put a 1. Adriana, hey, it's good to see you. Put a 1. Purple Daisy 1. Cheryl 1. Oh, lots of 1s. Hound Lover, Common Sense. Andy, welcome from Minnesota. Cheryl, Francie put a 1. So a lot of 1s. Rhoda Jane says, I just made it home in time for the chat. Well, welcome. I'm glad you made it. And Holly put a 1. Yay for DNA science. All right. Well, let's continue on because we have a lot to unpack. Shelley said, sorry, I was going to add a comment later for when you got to that part. No, that's fine. Don't worry. I just wanted to talk about what your thoughts were on that, like how you guys were viewing it versus how I was viewing it. Okay, so let's continue on. Let me scroll down on this. So you can see he's in a different colored shirt in the thumbs up photo. He was wearing a white buttoned up shirt. It looked like he had just showered. But by the time he goes down to Costco, and a lot of us wondered, was he in there buying something? No, he just went in there and got himself some water and was sipping the water and left. I think he just wanted to get himself on camera, in my opinion, looking calm. I think he went down to Clarkston, though. Let me just show you where that is in relation to. I'm just trying to get a map to come up. There we go. So he went 41 minutes. Nope. Somebody's getting a nice ad. Let me pull this up. 41 minutes away from his house. He spent some money on gas, and he, drove 33 miles to go from Pullman all the way down to Clarkston. So why was he down there? Why go down there? And in my opinion, he was down there because he was getting rid of the knife. Let me see if I can pull this up. All right. So this is a map of the area. And you can see that, he was way out of the way. He lived up here in Pullman. He went by the house in Moscow, right? In the morning. He was talking to his mom, arrived there a little past 9 a.m. So he was on the phone with his mom while he was traveling this route and then got off the phone with her right before he arrived at the house. I think he was there to looky-loo, maybe to try to get back the knife sheath. But then he goes from back to his house, and we know that because he took the thumbs up photo, right? That was a little after 10, and he was at the house a little after 9. And then he drives down all the way down to Clarkston. So in my opinion, he was driving down there because he would have had access to a couple of different rivers there. Trying to see if I can get it to show up on 3D. It's not liking that. Nope. That made it worse. I don't know why it's glitching. Maybe I hit come in like really close. Let's see if I can zoom in. There we go. So I think he went down here because he wanted to get to this Nez Perce reservation. And as I've showed you guys in some of the other videos, you can just see how wooded and what a great place this would be. Just to say you know, really did have these proclivities that he had, right? And we know that he did. We know what he was into. We know what he liked to look up and what he liked to watch, right? So he would have wanted to relive this crime. So I think he may have thrown the knife away once he realized he didn't have the knife sheath. But I'm not sure. He could have also buried it because, in my opinion, by burying it, he would have had an opportunity. And remember, he had that shovel that was found in the back of that Hyundai Elantra. He would have had the ability to go back and dig it up and relive and re-fantasize about what he did. You know, law enforcement didn't think there was an SA component, but we don't know that because he was wearing a monkey suit, a coverall, right? So we don't know that. So maybe he would have gotten that. But I think he wanted to be shown on security cameras, you know, walking in, looking calm and cool and collected. He does look kind of disheveled, but he looks pretty calm walking around there, considering what we know he had just did. But we saw the thumbs up video or screenshot. We saw how proud of himself he was. So he's recorded in the footage walking into Costco in Clarkson, Washington. He has a bottle of water in his hand, but appears to be denied entry by the front greeter, records say. So minutes later, the security video from a nearby business shows BK at a drive-through coffee stand, but it was closed. So I think he went into Costco. We thought maybe he was shopping for things. I don't think so. I think he went in there to establish that he had committed the perfect crime, and he just wanted to establish why he was traveling down near to the Nez Perce. That if he was discovered, he wanted to just have some plausible deniability that he didn't do anything. He was innocent. Look how calm and cool I am walking around the Costco, except Costco didn't let him in. We just see him at the entrance and then going back out. At 12:46, he arrived at the parking lot at Albertson's grocery store. He walked inside. A security video showed that he went through the self-checkout at 12:56 and exited at 12:58. He bought one item, a pre-packaged Starbucks Frappuccino coffee drink. So for all of the people who were saying that he went down to this area to grocery shop, no. He didn't drive all this way so he could grocery shop. He didn't spend 40 minutes in the car to pick up a single Frappuccino drink. And remember, he was at the coffee shop before this. So he was moseying around, making sure he was caught on cameras. But I think he was down there burying his trophies. After he exited the Albertsons, he got into the white Hyundai Elantra, and he was recorded leaving Albertsons at 1:04. This is according to the security footage. And investigators never found the K-bar knife. They found the sheath, but not the knife. They also don't have his monkey suit that he wore, or any of the clothing items, or any potential trophies that he brought. And a lot of people feel like before they accepted his allocution, before they accepted his guilty plea, he should have been made to say where these items were, what he did with them. Now, Bill Thompson, the prosecutor, he pushed back on this a little bit, saying, yeah, but he just would have lied. Okay, but you could have gone and dug it up and looked for it. You would have known if he was lying or not. But I do think that, you know, that it's interesting. All right, let's continue on. Let me see what you guys have to say. Meandering around. Exactly. Just wanting to get picked up on the video camera footage. Look at me. Nothing to see here, folks. I'm calm and cool as a cucumber. I am just sitting here going around doing my thing. I am just shopping for one coffee. So a lot of people like argued and said that when I tried to say that I thought he was disposing of those items at the Nez Pierce, that there was just thousands of acres. It would have been the perfect place. And there were two rivers, the Snake River and the Clearwater River, that would have been so easy for him to dispose of that knife. A lot of people said, no, we went down there to grocery shop. And I pointed out, well, the same company that owns Albertsons owns Kroger's, which was right in his neighborhood. Why would he have to go all the way to Albertsons to grocery shop? And we now know that he was turned away at Costco. He didn't even have a membership. I'm sure that's why he was turned away. And then he just went into Albertsons and bought himself a Frappuccino. Hey, Tara. Miss Pinkmas says he bounced around a lot. Wonder if he burned the suit, but I think he would definitely kept the trophy along with the knife. It may come out. It may not. We will see. Yeah. But he wasn't grocery shopping, right? Bill Thompson is full of it. Well, I do feel like he did friendly interviews. He did get a conviction, but I do think that, Howard Blum called it. He said that the powers that be were not going to let this case go to trial. He called it on my show before. If you haven't seen my interview with him, go back and rewatch it. He called it before, and he said that he didn't think the powers that be were going to let this case go to trial. He pointed out that the University of Idaho was being allowed to tear down the crime scene. He just didn't feel like there was a determination on the part of anyone, from Judge John Judge, who could have gone with the case from Latah County to Ada County, but said, no, thank you. I'll pass. I'm just going to retire early. To the chief of police, who switched, and this was in Pullman, who switched from being the Pullman chief of police to being the WSU chief of police. And then we have Chief Fry, who also took another job in a small town to be chief of police elsewhere. That they're just, the powers that be probably were putting a lot of pressure. And I'm not blaming law enforcement, and I'm not blaming Bill Thompson, because they're public servants. And when the powers that be are putting a ton of pressure on you to do X, Y, and Z, it's really hard in a small town like Moscow, Idaho, and like Pullman, Washington, to not buckle under that pressure. So I think the families did deserve better. I think that, half the families did want this to go to trial. But I think even if he wanted to do a plea deal, I think at the very least, he should have been made to say, and this would have put an end to a lot of channels that are going to continue to speculate, right? The pro Kohberger channels that don't believe that he could have done anything like this because he seemed so nice. It gives them fuel to continue to speculate and propel forward nonsense. Thank you so much for subscribing, and thank you for being a channel member. And thank you to NJS for gifting a channel member reporter membership. That is so nice of you. Membership, please make sure you say thank you to NJS. Cheers, Toss Penny. Nicole said, oh, only 56 on the number of like. If you guys can give this a thumbs up, it lets YouTube know I'm doing a good job. I did take 2 weeks off. For those of you that are like, where has she been? Let me just tell you what happened to me. For those of you that don't know, the last video I did, I had just shared that I was having some trouble. I had fallen. I fell a few weeks ago, went to the emergency room, was told I didn't have anything broken. They didn't think, or if it was broken, it was just a hairline fracture. They were going to treat it the same way, regardless of whether it was broken or not broken. So I did a couple of live streams with my leg elevated, because they said to elevate it, but it was supposed to be elevated even with my heart or higher to keep from swelling. So you'll see me on a couple of live streams. I'm sort of out of frame. I am sorry about that, with my leg elevated, because what I found out when I went back is that I had nerve damage in the ankle, which is incredibly painful. So when I was finishing the live streams, I was just, the whole next day, I was just like so uncomfortable. I'll just use the word uncomfortable. It hurt. I hurt. So anyway, I just went ahead and just decided there's not a lot. I just took a couple of weeks to just keep my ankle up, let it heal, let the, let the nerves do whatever they need to do, because I didn't want to have permanent damage. So that's what I did. And there wasn't a lot going on. So it seemed like a good time to just, let my body do what it needed to do to heal itself. So anyway, I'm so happy to be back. I did keep in touch with everybody on Facebook. If you're not in my Facebook group, Reporter Room, Facebook, please consider joining us. The holidays are coming up. We're a really tight, loving group. And also, I'm going to be doing a Halloween special. Let me know what case you would like me to cover on Halloween. And you can email me at my new email address. Let me pop that up for you guys. I have a new email address for you guys. It's tips for Jessica. And I mean like tips, like ideas for cases that you want me to cover, any tips that you have in an ongoing case that I'm covering. So tips for Jessica at outlook.com. So I just wanted to pop that up there. I was doing DMs on Facebook, but on Twitter, but a lot of people aren't on Twitter. So I just decided, okay, we will go ahead and go ahead and just get an email going. So I can't promise I'm going to answer everybody on the emails, okay? But I will be reading through them. But I'm doing a lot better now. Yes, thank you, Dion. I am feeling so much better. I'm so happy to be back. It was hard to sit out, but it was a good time as far as like there wasn't a lot of breaking news. It was, I'm like, well, if this had to happen, at least it happened when there wasn't a whole lot going on. It would have been horrible if this had happened like a few weeks before that, when the plea deal was happening and all of that. So I'm just really, really glad to be back. Thank you, Njaz. And Nicole said, I didn't know who gave me that membership. Thank you for that. That was Njaz gave you that. Something very creepy with clowns. A Halloween party. All right. So yeah, we definitely are going to do a Halloween get together. Because I know you guys are probably too old to go trick-or-treating. You're not little kids anymore. So I just thought we would do something on Halloween night. And so let me know what case you want me to do. And then we can do that with a Halloween party together. We can do that because I want to do some stuff for the holidays for people who are, maybe not going every which way and do have a little bit more free time where we can connect more together. Okay. Rhoda says, I wish that BK's University had been more forthcoming with all of their complaints about, oh my gosh, yes. And I think they should have made law enforcement consider him a suspect. Oh, you are speaking my language. For those of you that are newer and you're like, what is she talking about? I have been absolutely railing against WSU. I just really feel like they wanted this case settled. The last thing they wanted was for employees to get on the stand talking about how they were texting that they needed to get BK out on the university. Didn't do anything. All of the students, all the female students that they weren't listening to. So, the fact that this case got settled, in my opinion, was a victory for University of Idaho, who didn't have to explain why they tore the crime scene down. They didn't have international and national media coverage about 4 people who were done away with at their college, which I think was probably depressing their enrollment. So they wanted this case to go away. And WSU didn't want this to come to happen because they didn't want to answer whether or not Bryan Kohberger had access to that CSI lab with 5 body cam footages to 5 different police departments. They didn't have to explain why, despite the fact that they had that he was following female students to their cars, that people were coming forward with absolutely horrific complaints about him blocking the doorway, grading their papers differently than the male students. They didn't have to explain why they didn't have HR go back through his resume, which had lies in the resume. That would have been given them a reason to get rid of him. It had lies in his resume where he lied about dates of his employment. He lied about the length of time that he was employed because all of the jobs that he had, he didn't last that long. So they didn't have to watch and have it shown to the national community and international community that they failed their female students, which in my opinion Had the public found out about it, it would have probably limited how many parents wanted to send their 18-year-old off to this particular university, because they did fail, in my opinion, to protect their female students and their female teaching assistants. So awful complaints. They didn't have to have the public see that the professor had texted his colleagues sounding the alarm not to give Bryan Kohberger a PhD, because they were giving Bryan Kohberger a license to harass young women. And so, Bill Thompson just took I think he was under pressure. I do. And that's why Howard Bloom, when he said that he thought that the powers that be did not want this to go to trial, and he's a 2-time Pulitzer Prize nominated journalist, and he pointed out that the Judge Hip, our favorite judge, we call him Judge Hip on this channel, that he didn't want to be the judge in this case. He pointed out that the Latah County judge could have come and traveled with the case to Ada County and declined. So the powers that be were not going to let this case go to trial, and it's too bad, because I think the family members, still have questions. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And you'll recall in the live stream that I shared with you guys a couple of weeks ago that Steve and Christy Gonzalez, Kaylee's mom and dad, said that Bill Thompson didn't even have the decency to call them after he made this plea deal with Ann Taylor and BK. He sent them an email, but never responded, never followed up after the email to reach out. They said Ashley Jennings, who was on the prosecution team, reached out, but that Bill Thompson dodged them, avoided their phone calls. And I just don't think he could face them. And this is my opinion. I don't think Bill Thompson is a bad guy. I think he's probably, he looks like Santa Claus. I think he's a nice guy that was maybe in over his depth on a case like this. He had not prosecuted a big, international case. Imagine having to get up and public speak in front of a small group. Now imagine doing it in front of an international community of people picking apart everything you say, everything you do, and everything you don't do is being picked apart by other prosecutors, criminal defense attorneys appearing on various talk shows and internet outlets like mine, to talk about it and discuss it. And then imagine you're getting pressure from the University of Idaho, which pretty much owns your town, to close the case down. And I just feel like, he buckled under the pressure. I don't think he's a bad guy. And I don't think, but I do think that he should have called the family members back. I mean, that was bad. That was shabby. Do I think he's malicious? No. So I think Bill Thompson took the plea deal. He just did not have the stomach to fight University of Idaho, to stand up to the armchair, quarterbacks, the backseat, what do they call them? Backseat, drivers in the case, where they were going to be on Nancy Grace. They were going to be on all the news outlets, all the attorneys talking about what he did do, what he didn't do, what they would have done differently. But it's really sad, because we know how hard Kaylee and we know how hard Santa fought back. And a lot of people feel like Bill Thompson made the decision not to fight for them. But I just think that he's, just didn't have the stomach to stand up to the powers that be that were running the town. He went on to claim that minimizing and that the lies would have been even more damaging to everybody. And I have no doubt that BK would have told him some lies and would have absolutely minimized what he did. But I don't think this would have been damaging to everyone. And I think that if law enforcement had been able to locate the knife and the monkey suit, or just even the knife itself, but the monkey suit, some of the items that he wore that night, I think that if they had been able to confirm the location of it, it would have stopped a lot of the stuff that we are going to see, where people are going to continue to say that he didn't do it. But even though he's confessed, signed a confession, pled guilty, there's still going to be people. And I think if they had had the knife, I think it would have helped shut some more of those people down. So I like Bill Thompson. I think he's a good and decent man. I just don't think he's a particularly strong man. And I feel that way because he didn't call the Gonzalez family back. I think if he had, really had strong, inner strength, I think that he would have called them back, even if it was hard, even if the conversation was uncomfortable. Instead, he dismissed them, he avoided them. And then ABC News points out that BK, went straight to sentencing, and that, the families did finally get to make their impact statements. And of course, who gave the most compelling impact statement, in my opinion, was Dylan Mortensen. That little girl, that young woman, she was a little, she was the youngest one in the house. She was only 19 when this happened. Sat there in that seat, crying her eyes out, but gave her impact statement. That was brave. And the other one was Olivia Gonzalez. Oh my gosh. She gave the most brilliant takedown of Bryan Kohberger. She took him apart. Sit up straight when I talk to you. Sit up straight when I talk to you. If you haven't seen that, I have it. Just the Gonzalez family together as its own clip of the sentencing. She moved that podium. I think Steve Gonzalez moved it. And she said she didn't look at her notes. She just said what she wanted to say because she did not want to break eye contact with BK. She wanted to look him in the eyes. So BK will serve 4 consecutive life sentences. He did plead guilty. He got an extra 10 years on top of that for the burglary, for breaking into this house. He waived his right to appeal. The appeal period is over. That was within 42 days of the sentencing. He didn't appeal. He can try to file for appeals now, but then the prosecutor's going to go in with the plea deal, and the court will have the option of to hear it or not hear it. So, I do think that I do appreciate that. Now, this is my email. Tips for it's not the number 4 though. It's the number 4. So let me just show it. Let me see if I can just show that by itself. Yeah, there it is. Tips and the number 4 for Jessica at outlook.com. And I set that up literally last night around 3 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't sleep because I was just excited to get on here with you guys. And this is the link NJAS has for our Facebook group. The holidays are coming. Subscribe, come be part of the Reporter Room community, but also join the Facebook group. It's really, really a nice group of kind and caring people. And if you're a channel member, we have our own channel members group. It's Reporter Room, and type in Reporter Room channel members, and that group will pop up. You'll want to be in both groups though. And I'm in there. If I'm not here, you'll see me there. Yeah, it was. And I think but I don't think I don't mean this in a malicious or unkind way about Bill Thompson. I really don't. I just don't think he had it would have taken a very, very strong personality. And I'm not saying he doesn't have any strength, but a really strong personality to stand up to the powers that be. And he couldn't even face the Gonzaleses. So to me, that sort of says, and then after he just went on friendlies. I remember Brian Ensign saying he was frustrated. He was trying to get an interview with Bill Thompson. He had interviewed him before. Why can't he get an interview? Because he just went on friendlies. What we call them friendlies. Friendly journalists. Kanakika said they are closing in on the prison video leaker. Yeah, we're still waiting for that. I think it's going to end up to be a prison guard that probably took it for a family member, or just to be look who's in I'm watching tonight, maybe a little braggadocious, something like that. Holly said he didn't owe us anything, but he did owe the families a fight and communication. Right. So even if he wanted to take the plea deal, even if he didn't feel like he had the stomach to stand up, and I get it. I get it when it's a small college town, the University of Idaho, they're the money. They were allowed to tear down the crime scene. So I get it. And I'm not shaming him, but he still should have called the Gonzalez family back. He did have Ashley do it, but he was the lead prosecutor. He should have done it. Bill Thompson wanted to retire. I wish he had. It was just a small town prosecutor. Just imagine having the pressure on you that he had. Mrs. Pinkman says, watch all those photos and what is not very hard for the family. The charge In the end, probably wouldn't change much either. Miss Picnic says some families want to see everything and some don't. I respect it. Everyone grieves differently, and that's normal and okay. Lies mixed with truth. And Jess says, at least he can never hurt anyone. Another woman in prison is where he should be. Yeah, and I think he did, get what he deserved to have. Hi, Sirius. Sirius is saying, please like and subscribe. Yeah, subscribing is free and it does help me out a lot. I don't know if I did do the subscribe thing. Is free. I do want to say thank you to our producers, Ed Jess, Sasha Angel, George Brown, Michael L. Cole, and Christy Valentine. And thank you to our channel members. I'm going to be doing, after this live stream, I just finished doing the Celeste Rivas Hernandez and David case. And after this, I'm going to be doing the Laken Snelling case. She is the beauty queen from the University of Kentucky. University of Kentucky, who was pregnant, tried to hide it, gave birth, and then put her baby in a trash bag. We have new information on that case. We're going to be going through that next in a separate live stream. When we're done here, I'll close at that one and go over, and we'll start that one together. If you want to be updated on that, she did appear in court yesterday, so there's some new information on that, and we also got some more information on the baby. And I also want to do super thanks and coffee gratitude to Michael and Donna and Enjaz and Michael and Lisa. Thank you so much. And for the gifted channel memberships from our last live stream, Enjaz and Enjaz, thank you so much for that. All right, guys, well, follow me over. Let me just show you who Laken is. Let me pull that up really quick. Let me grab that. For you guys are like, what is she talking about? This is Laken. She was a cheerleader and she was her hometown beauty queen. So we're going to be and she is the one that put her newborn in a trash bag in her closet, you guys. So we're going to just follow me over for that one next. And I will see you guys on the next one. Please subscribe. It's free and it helps me. Like, share, leave a comment, and I'll see you at right now. We're going to head over to